Good day and welcome to another Corr-Serve 10-minute coffee chat. Today we're going to be talking GroupIB again. We've made 2 videos already on GroupIB, and so this is the third. I'm joined today by Chris Harrison, who looks after GroupIB for Africa, and Chris and I are going to do another question and answer session. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure to be here.
Great, so let's get stuck straight into it. So first of all, and this is typically something that I always lead with, elevator pitch. So you in the elevator with a prospective customer, what is typically that pitch that you would use to describe GroupIB in a short space of time between floors?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, I think GroupIB, always one of the key areas to focus is on the experience that we have. So to say that we have 19 years of experience, first and foremost in the digital forensics and incident response space, moving into the development of our threat intelligence offering, provides, the core of the understanding around GroupIB's real kind of competitive differentiator and how we can set ourselves apart from the competition. The proprietary threat intelligence, the sources that we have, and the fact that we've been able to curate these over the last 19 years is incredibly important. And then also, the development of that threat intelligence and digital forensics and incident response background into the development of our product stack, the solutions, the services. This is really the core of what makes GroupIB very unique in terms of what we do and provide to the market today.
What are you seeing as the triggers in the market? When you go out there and have your conversations with prospective customers, what is it that's triggering those conversations, and the reasons around, GroupIB?
Sure. So coming back to my first point, I think the threat intelligence is quite a unique one and quite a big one that always gets a conversation going, particularly when you're talking around actionable intelligence that can be pulled into the organization and that makes a real tangible difference. There's a very big difference between just an information feed and giving out, relatively useless or just generic information that organizations tend to get anyway, and actually then providing direct actionable intelligence that is of relevance and importance to an organization, especially in terms of protecting itself against attacks. Obviously, to use some of the buzzwords in the market, the attack surface management side of things has become very big, and it's a space that's developing. And we have a very unique tool there in the fact that it's been developed over the last 7 years, as opposed to being something that has been procured in the last 6 months or 7 months. So yeah, we would look at those 2 spaces particularly. And also, and this is all very much unique to the African market, I get a lot of questions around both the threat hunting capabilities as well as the fraud hunting capabilities. So fraud is obviously always a concern for the African market and something that we really try to look at combating strongly. And then, threat hunting from a perspective of knowing and understanding what is going on inside of an organization, what indicators of compromise may already exist there, and how we can go about assisting an organization in identifying those. So that's been my most recent experience.
You guys have got some really good war stories in terms of your collaboration with Interpol, etc. Can you give us a couple of little tidbits on some of the more high-profile arrests that you've made, and then any interesting deployments or lessons learned from deployments?
Sure, absolutely. So I think the most interesting one that we've had recently is the operation that we did in Lagos, where we were investigating a business email compromise ring. This actually went over the space of about 5 years that we were involved with Interpol and other governmental organizations, as well as other vendors, in investigating this particular group. What was very significant there is after the initial arrests in 2020, we arrested 3 members. We found about 50,000 domain credentials on the hard drives and the infrastructure that we managed to get our hands on from those initial arrests. And the subsequent investigation then resulted in the further arrest of another 11 members of the same business email compromise ring at the beginning of this year. By the time that we had gotten to those guys, we found 800,000 domain credentials on the infrastructure. So just seeing the scope of what they were managing to harvest in that sort of space of time, and understanding, you know, the extent of the operation and what they'd been involved in was quite something to understand and behold and realize the issues that we face from like local cyber criminals. That's the one aspect of it. I always kind of cite that as a reason that we as Africans need to be more involved in actually bringing cyber criminals to justice here on the continent, because we tend to only do this once they're attacking European or American citizens and the FBI or Interpol get involved. So I'd really like to see a much more proactive approach from the powers that be on the African continent. In terms of, you know, deployment and areas of interest, once again, from a GroupIB perspective, you know, we've gotten some really good compliments recently from some of the banks that I'm working with. Amongst those is the utilization of our graphing tool and functionality, which sits within our threat intelligence. In fact, it's one of the tools that is kind of spread across our unified risk management platform. So we see the graphing functionality being pulled into the digital risk protection side as well as the fraud hunting side. It's a very versatile tool. It's something that's very utilized, very heavily utilized across all the platforms. And their description to me was that within their procedures and their policy, utilizing the GroupIB graph function has become the first point of engagement for them in an investigation. So before they do anything else with regards to an investigation, they're actually utilizing that tool to get additional information, additional indicators, additional links or associations between email addresses or social media profiles. So that was really something that I found was quite relevant and as I say, a very, very nice compliment from their side, where we know that our tools are basically forming the first line of defense.
Oh, it's a really good pat on the back, so to speak. Yeah. So in closing, is there anything else that you could provide, any pearls of wisdom in terms of target customer profiles, qualifying questions, how you go about uncovering requirements at a prospective customer?
I'll steal this one from Ashraf, our director of sales, and he puts a very strong focus on the MEDDIC framework, MEDDIC, where we look to, you know, qualify an opportunity based on the metrics, the understanding of the economic buyer, the decision criteria, the decision process, identifying the pain points, and allocating a champion. And this is something that I would encourage every partner to kind of look into and explore and understand the separate elements of that as a way to go about, you know, approaching an opportunity, unpacking an opportunity, and providing feedback to us ultimately and yourselves around an opportunity so that we can all understand where we sit at. From a more generalized GroupIB point of view, obviously the financial industry and the financial sector is always somewhere where we put a lot of focus. This has always kind of been our bread and butter. But that's not to say that we are uniquely involved only in the financial sector. We also are heavily involved in the telco space, the health sector, manufacturing and mining. So really there is the opportunity to position it into any sort of industrial sector, specifically on the attack surface management side. I think this is why we put such a strong focus there as well, is just because it's a tool that kind of transcends industrial sectors as well as small, medium and enterprise level clients. So that's one that really you can take across the board. Yeah, beyond that, as I say, looking into understanding the client needs, understanding the client pain point. And from a GroupIB perspective, we really like to push for a POC quite quickly. We feel that the POCs always show value to the clients, and kind of immediately give the understanding of how the tool set is going to alleviate that pain point. And we find that that drives the opportunities quite quickly. So those would be my core takeaways in terms of looking at opportunities.
And there's also the digital risk protection component too. So any organization that's got a brand that they want to protect and they want to constantly manage and ensure that there's no brand theft happening and all of that. So that's another component, and that talks to kind of the verticals, and it opens it up across any vertical where an organization has a brand to protect.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those where we can provide a lot of information, or details around intellectual property as well as physical goods. So it really does transcend a lot of the markets. It really does make it available to anybody, really, in terms of what they're looking to protect. As a very particular use case that we see there. Even somebody like streaming a sports event off of their phone to Facebook, that sort of a thing can be looked at. It can be blocked. We can look to perform those sort of activities around it. Counterfeit goods from big international brands being sold locally, either through gray imports or that sort of a thing. So there are a couple of particular use cases that kind of fit outside of the box, but really transcend, as you say, the industrial segments and then the particular areas that an organization might be looking to work in.
Great. Thanks for that insight, Chris. I think we're running out of time, so I think let's call it at this point. Really appreciate your time for coming on and spending time with us. And yeah, till next time. Cheers.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Ciao. Thank you all. Bye.